I am here with Paul Huxley from Christian Concern. Hello, Paul.
Hi, Andy. Good to be with you.
Yes, indeed. Now, I wanted to just touch base with you a little bit because we've had a court case recently about gender. What's a man, what's a woman is my really, really basic understanding of what the court case was about. I think Supreme Court have then said, well, it's this and it's that. So do you want to just talk us briefly? What court was it and how did that get to court?
I'll do my very best with that. This was the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom, which is the highest court in our legal system. So it's a very important judgment. It comes as a result of some lack of clarity in the Equality Act and what the Equality Act means when it says the word woman. So for some time, different people have had different ideas or claims about what the word woman means within that act. And the Supreme Court was saying eventually in its judgment last week that when it says woman, it actually means biological woman, what someone really is according to their physical reality, and not according to whether they believe that they are something else, what they identify as. The Equality Act 2010 basically protects people against discrimination on various different grounds. So things like age and sex and religion and these sorts of things. And one of those things, as I mentioned, is their biological sex. But there are some very detailed bits within the Act where it talks about women in particular. And some people wanted to say that included trans women. And the court has now said a lot more clearly that no, that refers to biological women. Otherwise, the Act as a whole is incoherent. It doesn't make sense. So basically, we've got a sort of return to sanity on that particular point in the law.
So 2010, this is the Equality Act that came in. Supreme Court, there's nothing above that. This is as high as it can possibly go. I mean, can it be overturned if somebody says, you know what, we don't care, we want to make it different anyway? Can it still be overturned, or are we talking about an act of parliament to do that?
Yes, basically an act of parliament would have to take place. And what we've seen in the last week in response to this is lots of Labour figures who were sort of perhaps unsure about what the law said, or unsure about what they think about whether trans women are women or not, have come out basically to say that they agree with the law as it stands. So it doesn't look like anyone's going to change that law in the near future.
But the case that's been very prolific of late, which is the one I just think, well, this has got to surely translate into some actionable change, is the Darlington Nurses. So give us a quick overview for people who perhaps have not caught what's gone on, and then can you update us with where we're at with the Darlington Nurses, especially with the Supreme Court ruling?
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, when we then put that into an actual situation, a real life workplace situation, what access to single sex toilets and changing spaces are women going to have in the workplace? If toilets and changing rooms are based on someone's sex, i.e., you're only allowed to go into the female ones if you are actually female, then that's one thing. If it's based on what someone identifies as, then you basically lose the meaning of those single sex changing spaces, and that's what happened to these nurses in Darlington. They had a situation where someone who is a man and who calls himself Rose had access to their changing rooms and was making lots of the women there feel very uncomfortable about his presence, the way he was behaving there, and so they went to their trust, to the hospital, and said, look, this is not great. We need to have our own changing space where we're safe, or kind of where we're made to feel safe, rather than kind of sharing the space with a man. They didn't react very well to that. They said they need to be re-educated, and basically allowed Rose to keep on using those facilities, and still are to this date. So there's a legal case about that that we at Christian Legal Centre are supporting. That's gone to the Employment Tribunal, but for various reasons that's had to be delayed till October this year. So that's going to keep coming at that point. But this ruling is going to be very helpful in that case, because it's basically making clear that those single sex spaces that people can expect to get when they are in a workplace, that they have access to those single sex spaces, really do mean in law single sex spaces and not single gender identity spaces, if you see what I mean.
So one would hope that when we get to October or even beforehand, I mean, I'm guessing it's possible. Is it that the NHS Trust, is that right? They could actually then undo this and say, okay, the law's changed. We don't need to wait for October. Let's fix this now. I mean, is that actually a possibility?
Those sorts of things are definitely possible. And if you look at the kind of noises that are made by people like Wes Streeting and other politicians and bodies like the Equality and Human Rights Commission, they are essentially suggesting that NHS trusts need to change their policies or to make clear their policies that these sorts of spaces are meant to be single sex and not single gender identity, and basically change those policies. If that happens in Darlington, I'm not sure if that will completely make the case go away, because you've still got the situation of how these nurses have been treated in the past weeks and months and year. So it doesn't necessarily make the case go away, but it would certainly resolve the issue at hand.
So, I mean, even if the trust say, okay, great, you can have your single-sex toilet, we're going to honour now what the Supreme Court says, so this is your toilet only, there's still the fact that they've been through, I mean, I don't even know what the right word is from my own perspective, trauma. I don't know quite how you would describe what they've been through.
Yeah, some really have. I mean, one of the nurses has had a history of kind of abuse and these sorts of things, and was made to particularly feel uncomfortable in that situation by the details of how Rose talked, like, are you not getting changed yet? And Rose, I mean, you have to understand that Rose isn't just Rose is someone who largely looks like a male and is openly trying to get his girlfriend pregnant, or has he openly made those sorts of statements. It's not someone who you might imagine as a trans woman who's really trying very hard to kind of fit in the kind of their new gender identity as a woman. This is someone who really does, for in general, look like a male and act like a male. So that's another element to how it's making these women uncomfortable.
So essentially, regardless of what the trust does, there's still an ongoing battle for not even just necessarily recompense, but it needs to be made right what's been done, because until it's changed, not just by the trust, but actually the trust needs to acknowledge, yes, we got it wrong, and also, by the way, the court was backing that up, and also, by the way, you've been treated really, really badly, and we're really sorry. There needs to be something to make that right as best as possible.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not their legal representative, and obviously, if the trust made an offer to them, then that would be for them to decide. And with their lawyers, I'm not a lawyer, but that would be my understanding of the situation. Yeah.
Fine. So hopefully some good improvement for the Darlington nurses and other people who struggled, because the Darlington nurses may well be the one that we see in the news or what have you, but I would imagine, I can guarantee this, they're not the only ones struggling with this issue.
No, and I think Christians in particular, for the last 10 years or so, when I think we've seen the height of the kind of transgender ideology in this country and also in America, we've really seen this explode in the last 10 years, basically since shortly after we implemented same-sex marriage, and then this became the main issue that was kind of pushed around. We've seen Christians really be at the forefront of kind of hitting these issues. There are many, many Christians who we've supported, the Christian Legal Centre, and also elsewhere, people like David Macareth and Joshua Sutcliffe, so many other Christy Higgs. We've talked about some of these before when I've been on Pure Radio, but so many Christians who, for speaking and kind of acting consistently with their understanding that men are men and women are women fundamentally, and that's how God has made people, and this is how we should treat them. It's those people who have generally got into trouble at the workplace or elsewhere for saying what they genuinely believe, and what this court is essentially now saying or pointing towards being reality, that when we say trans women are women, or when someone says that, that's just ideology. It's not real, and it's not in law either. So it's really been Christians who've been at the forefront of kind of sharing the truth about what that is, and really it is about coming back not only to what God says about things, but just simply what is reality, and just acting in line with the physical reality that we are made in.
Presumably, if people have been taken to court and lost employment or whatever variation it might be, now we have the Supreme Court ruling. Presumably, they could actually go back and say, well, I lost, but look at what the Supreme Court said. Can you actually go backwards and say, actually, I want my judgment to be overturned?
In my understanding of the Christian Legal Centre cases, at least, I don't think the same area of law is particularly relevant to our employment cases.
Okay.
Where that might be the case, however, is in Christy Higgs's case, which we had also at the end of February, I think. She was dismissed initially for a Facebook post that challenged transgender ideology, and there was a very helpful Court of Appeal judgment. That's one step down from the Supreme Court, which basically upheld freedom of speech. Now, that one applies to loads of other cases, and some of those older cases may possibly be reopened because of that. However, I don't think this one directly applies to the sorts of cases that we've been involved with anyway.
Okay, Paul, thank you. I just thought it'd be good just to have a little bit of a catch up, because this was big news. It's been across the world. It doesn't matter where I've looked, social media, different newspapers. This has been very much, look at what the British have said. They've now stated this. And I'm guessing potentially that could help other nations to think, maybe we need to look at this. But I just thought it'd be helpful just to have a bit of a catch up, especially in light of the Darlington Nurses. I saw stuff from J K Rowling the other day saying this has been going on. So I just thought a little bit of clarity from Christian Concern yourself would be helpful. So thank you, Paul, for your time.
You're very welcome. Could I just add as well? I mean, J K Rowling has obviously been at the forefront of kind of raising this as an issue. So we're thankful for her kind of her raising the awareness of biological reality in these things. And the other thing, just on the point of the United Kingdom leading the way, that's happened in the area of puberty blockers as well, in terms of stopping so many children having access to puberty blockers when they feel kind of at odds with their gender. And there seems to be something about the English or the United Kingdom culture where we come back to reality a bit quicker, possibly than some other countries. So that's something at least to be pleased with in terms of the United Kingdom.
Fair enough, Paul. Thank you. Christian Concern. If people want to get hold of you, what's the website? Because I can never remember the end. ChristianConcern.com. Very simple. We'd love to hear from you and for you to sign up to our emails for these sorts of updates and to join us as we try to bring Christ to our nation. Thank you. I don't know why I can't remember .com. It's such an obvious one. But yes, ChristianConcern.com. Paul, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Here at Pure 24/7 Radio, we have had the privilege of speaking to some amazing people with amazing stories.
Now, what about, I thought I'd go a bit further, what about goat and sheep's milk?
Yeah.
Becoming quite popular. Very similar to cow's milk. So we don't use it in the first year of life, you can afterwards. And their nutrient profiles, how good they are, is pretty similar to cow's milk. Allergenicity, how often do they cause allergies? About the same. They're a bit more expensive sometimes. It's pretty equivalent.
Yeah, we're really excited, especially excited for Josh because it's his first book and he's really passionate with that Gen. Do you say Gen Z or Gen Z? I've heard it said in...
I don't know. I'm too old. I don't know.
Yeah, we're not in that age category, so we've not got a clue what they're called.
It's a pot boiler. It's a good, exciting popcorn thriller. I didn't think it was anything too special, but I think watching it at home, people will probably enjoy it more than I did going to the cinema to see it. Really good film. I love it. You know, I walk into a cinema and I turn my phone off. Nobody can get hold of me for a couple of hours. I'm in a completely other world. Every single time I go to the cinema, and for me it's like going to Oz, it's like going to another world and escaping and relaxing, and I thoroughly enjoy it.
If you have missed any of these interviews or would like to hear them again, you can. Simply head over to our catch-up section at www.pure247radio.org. That's www.pure247radio.org.